What's up, everybody? Back with another video. I didn't really know what to talk about today, but something came to mind, I guess, presence. Just spending time with family, being intentional, I guess, about using my time. And, um, I kind of feel like I'm almost like I've been getting messages that I'm in like, if I keep at the pace that I'm going, I'm going to burn myself out. So, Um, I've been trying to slow down a little bit. I took a nap today. We took the kids somewhere yesterday to a park so that they could play. Um, and then we went and got pizza afterwards. I didn't eat pizza, but they did. Um, and that's kind of exhausting for me. Like, I think if you're active with your kids at the playground, right? I know some people just kind of sit on their phones and let their kids run around and do whatever they want. But since I have kids all ages, and then, sometimes the kids expect me to play with them or they want me to play with them. Um, I had the 1-year-old, he needs constant attention, but I was with my wife. So um, we were able to, she pretty much watched the 1-year-old and then I watched the other two. But then the other two will go in like different directions. And I mean, I don't need to have constant supervision vision on them, but sometimes they want to play. Dad, come down the slide with us, do this and that. So, anyways, yeah, that was all kind of. It's all kind of um, draining. Not in a bad way. I try to have fun when I'm at the park, but yeah. So since we kind of went out yesterday, I was like, I think I'm going to stay home today. I wasn't feeling like I was in the best. Been feeling like I'm on the verge of getting sick lately. And so I was like, I'm going to take it easy today. And so I read actually, I read the rest of that human design book. Um, what was it? Human Design Revelation by Richard Rudd. It's really good. I mean, it's one of the books that I feel like I just can't put it down. Like I just want to keep reading it. And so I read half of it, I think in like a day or so, like earlier this week. And then I read the other half today. Um, so good. I think it's just so fascinating reading about ourselves and like how the body works. I mean, of course, it's only one aspect, the kind of the energetic aspect. But if you're called to it, I highly suggest, at the very least, like downloading your report. You can get a free report if you know your date of birth. Everybody knows their birth date, but you need the time and the location. If you know all three things, the location is in city and state if you're in the States, or maybe city and country if you're maybe in Europe or somewhere else. Um, but it's free. You can get a short report. And I can't remember if I said this before, but when I first read my report, I cried a little bit. I didn't cry, but I welled up inside. Like I just felt so emotional by it because I had never, well, first of all, I'm a projector. And so, I don't really feel fulfilled in life if I'm not seen. And I feel like I'm not seen most of the time. Most of us probably aren't in this world. Everybody has their own agenda, and that report like told me who I was, and I felt seen, even if it wasn't by a person or an entity or whatever. It was just like, wow, this thing understands me more than anybody's ever understood me in my life. People that have known me my whole life don't know me as well as this little report does. And so, yeah, I found that intriguing and just yeah. But the funny thing is that was like 3 years ago, and I've read the Gene Keys a few. So Human Design and Gene Keys, they're not the same, but they're kind of in the same ballpark or vicinity. And Richard Rudd deals with both, but the actual creator, I think, of Human Design was maybe Richard Rudd's mentor or guru or something, Ra Uru Hu. I think hopefully I said his name right. Kind of going off of memory, so that might not be. It's close if it's not correct. But yeah. So Ra Uru, who created, he didn't create it, really kind of downloaded the human design, and then again, I don't know if Richard Rudd worked with him or how that whole thing worked out. But Richard Rudd wrote a few books on human design, so he's got Revelation, I think, his book. This other one is Circuitry, but then he's also got the Gene Keys, which I think the Gene Keys they might have to do with the gates, but anyways, the Gene Keys is like kind of I feel like it's its own thing. So yeah, if you're interested, man, I highly recommend looking into that, because it's who we are. It's like yeah, it just helps you better understand yourself. When for the they call it a body graph, this chart of unlike Indian philosophy or wherever the chakras come from, they say that there's 7 chakras. Well, in human design, there's 9 chakras or energy centers, or and of course there's many more than that if you go into smaller, but and all those energy centers, those 9 energy centers, can be defined or undefined, and there's unlimited variations of each one that makes us all unique. But so if your sacral center is undefined, like mine, I think that makes you a projector, but I think that there's more to it. It has something to do with your throat center as well. But when your sacral center is undefined, just for instance, I'm giving you guys this information to maybe inspire you to maybe look into it yourself or something. But you, if I don't have a defined sacral center, so somebody that does have a defined sacral center, when I'm hanging around them, I sense I can, I'm trying to think of the word, magnify their emotions, or I think it's actually the solar plexus is where the emotions come from. And I don't have a defined solar plexus either. So someone who does have a defined solar plexus, like probably my wife or my kids or both, when I'm around them, I'm highly influenced by their emotions. I'm magnifying their emotions that they're feeling. So if they're in a state of fear, they're in a state of panic, they're in a state of stress or anxiety, or if they're in a state of bliss, joy, happiness, peace, content, contentful, I'm going to magnify that. And just knowing that is huge in itself, because I can say, okay, I'm feeling a lot of fear right now, but that's not me. When I leave the room or I walk away and the fear goes away, I can say, okay, that's now I'm back to me. And then there's a lot of conditioning that you've got to kind of release and purge from those centers. And I think I've been doing that over the last year or so, is really purging and deconditioning those centers. And they say it takes 7 years to decondition. I don't know if that's true for me, because the way I went about deconditioning was doing meditation with the angels, and so I feel like they cleared a bunch of stuff out. I still had to feel everything. Like I felt so much. I felt some of the worst feelings I've probably ever felt in my life. Not probably, for sure, ever felt in my life. And maybe that was just the first stage, right? Now I need to maybe keep them clear, or maybe I need to fill it up with my own thing. I'm not really sure. But I guess knowing I'm around, and I don't know. I mean, you could get this anal about it, where you're you could look up all your friends and family and everybody you hang around, their chart. Maybe you go on a date and you're like, the first thing you do is look up your human design chart. I'm not that anal about it, but I'm noticing patterns for sure. Like as I'm reading the descriptions of some of these, like a generator or a manifesting generator, or a manifester, these are the different types. There's 4 different types in human design. There's the manifestor, the generator, the projector, and the reflector. The reflector is like super rare. I forget how much they said, like 4% of the population or something. It's pretty small. Projector is like 20% of the population, give or take. Generators, there's like kind of subcategories in generators. There's like a pure generator and there's a manifesting generator. And they're each about 30%, 33% of each, which means the generator takes up about 60 or 66% of the population, which is quite a bit. That's a huge amount of the population. That's most of the people. And then you have the manifestor, which is, I think it was like 6%. That's a pretty small amount of the population. But the manifestor has been the one that's kind of been ruling the world in a way in the last, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of years. Hundreds or thousands, not hundreds of thousands, although maybe hundreds of thousands. I don't know. And so, yeah, no, I just feel like after reading that book, and I'm going to continue kind of studying, I might even take some courses on it. Like I said, I just find it so fascinating. Who doesn't want to know more about themselves or how people work in general? And this is like a guide to that. Of course, it's not something you're going to learn overnight or, even years. It's probably something that takes a lifetime to learn, but that doesn't mean that you can't, maybe have a good grasp on it within a couple of years or something like that, of just kind of having in the back of your head who your coworkers are, how they operate, or if you own a business and you're hiring people, like I said, you don't have to look up a chart for every person, although maybe in the beginning, maybe you want to, friends and family, just to get familiar. I want to do that. Look up the chart for my kids. My wife, I think, is a little bit more difficult because I don't know if she even knows her birth time. But we know the day and we know the location. So I can try to get a chart on her. I'm really curious on her because as I was reading through the defined centers and undefined centers, I feel like I had a somewhat of a inkling of who she is based on her personality just from reading. I was like, okay. She's undefined here, she's defined there. I kind of forget now because it was as I was reading it, but yeah, just going through life as you meet people, you can find out who has the defined center and who doesn't. Someone like a reflector who has no defined centers at all constantly want to be around other people. They don't feel like they have a direction in life unless they're around other people, because they're kind of just absorbing their energies. But then the flip side of that is you got to be careful also who you hang out with. So if you were raised in a my family wasn't, I was raised in a not so good family, I guess. My family is my family, but looking back now, at least compared to other people, I had a pretty rough upbringing and having these undefined centers. And then my stepdad was like always angry about something. And even my mom was, she had her own issues. It was very emotional. And I just took in all that conditioning. I had huge anger problems up until like a year ago. Even now it's more of like I can get angry really quickly and then I cool down really quickly. And I think it's normal to get angry. I think a lot of people don't like to talk about it. Like it's taboo, we shouldn't get angry. That's it serves a purpose sometimes to get angry, to express your emotions. There's a reason you're having those feelings. What is that reason? Are you not hanging out with the right people? Are you unsatisfied with your job? What? Yeah. Tap into that reason. And if you just ignore it or you push it down, you choose not to feel it, things will just escalate until you blow up. And that's not a good situation either. I've been there before as well, many times. Um, for me, I didn't know how to express myself like when people didn't understand me, I would get upset, but then um, I would lash out at them. And I don't know, they kind of look at me like, where'd that come from? Like, we were just having a conversation, or this was happening, why did you just all of a sudden flip out or something? I don't know. I'm trying to come up with examples. Um, but yeah, so I forget where I was going with this, but anyways, human design, been looking into it. I'm really inspired by it. I definitely think this is my path for me to go down this road and explore this thing. I really think this is the kind of stuff that should be taught in the school systems. If we knew this, I mean, he goes in detail in the book about how we should even be raising children with these different types. They all demand a certain type of attention when kids are growing up, and 99% of the population is not even aware of this right now. So if we have kids and we're using the system isn't a belief system. It's not like a book about a god, or you could say, well, has science proved any of this stuff? It doesn't take all you have to do is read the book, listen to what it says, and then notice, start with yourself. Notice how you are, and does what the book is saying, does it resonate with do you resonate with what it's saying about you? I certainly do, but maybe not everybody will, and that's fine. So it's an experiential thing where you can say, yeah, that's true. Um, um, they talk in the book about Pablo Picasso. He had a bunch of undefined centers in his lower area. So solar plexus, maybe spleen, sacral, root, they were all undefined, and he constantly needed to be around other people. And he was a really famous painter. For those that don't know, I'm not super familiar with his work. I have seen some of his work, so I know. I guess he's painted over 50,000 pieces in his life, which is huge. But he was always around people, and when he was younger, his cousins would be like, "Oh, can you paint animals? I don't know. Can you paint an elephant, or can you paint this? Can you paint that?" And so, by him having those undefined centers, and people giving them these ideas, he was open to it because he didn't have his own ideas. His centers weren't defined, and so, and then he was a projector as well. I'm a projector. He's a projector. Pablo Picasso. I think he's dead now, but we also need reinforcement, or we need acknowledgement from somebody about our brilliance. It's not that we're geniuses, although in a way, I mean, like I could speak for myself. I'm definitely a big picture kind of person. I'm a visionary. I can see the big picture in things, and that's fine if you're not like that. But I think that's part of being a projector. I'm a certain type of projector, and there's a few different kinds of projectors, but because I can see the big picture. They said something really ironic in the book, but it makes sense. Projectors don't have energy centers of our own. I mean, of course, we're able to do things just like anybody else, but we can burn ourselves out quickly. I was getting messages last week. I had went to the gym and did leg day, and I went really hard on leg day. And almost immediately, like that day or later that day, I was watching a video, and it said, "You're going to burn yourself out." So I was getting messages from spirit saying like, hey, be careful. You're going to burn yourself out. You don't have your own energy centers. Therefore, you can't be like everyone else. You can't be a doer. You're not a doer. You're not built to be that. A generator is a doer, manifesting generator, pure generator, a manifester. All those people can be doers. Reflectors and projectors are not doers. We cannot be doers. That doesn't mean we can't do stuff. Picasso wasn't a doer, but he painted. I guess that doesn't fall into the category of doer. I think a doer, it doesn't mean you're a grunt, but it means like you can get into the minutia of the day to day and just like do things day in and day out, and you just got endless energy for stuff. I don't know, my wife for sure, she's like a generator or a manifester or something. She's got energy for days, like where you know, she helps me mow the lawn because like I don't want to say I don't have the energy for it. It's not something I want to do. I feel like it's something that's a societal thing where it's like we are forced to do it, right? If I don't do it, I'm going to get a ticket from the city because my grass grew too high. Anyways, I'm digressing, but it's a waste of my energy to mow the lawn, and I have so many other things that I do. Even so I do software development as my day job at the moment, and it's very mental, which I think is fine. But that's draining in itself. But I think the physicality of stuff is more draining for me. Anyways, I'll dig more into this as I go, but I find it so fascinating. I wanted to share with you guys. There's a ton of people that talk about it already, but it's fairly new to me, and yeah, I guess just trying to bring more awareness to it. I think more people should know about this. So without that, I won't let the video drag on too much longer. I think I actually started with like presence and just being present. So being intentional with my family is like, you just never know when they could be taken away, and taken away could mean anything, right? Like, what if my wife all of a sudden was cheating or wanted to leave me? What if they got into a car accident and one or all of them died? God forbid. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Fingers crossed. But the point is they could be taken away from you at any moment. And are you spending that quality time with them that you should be, that you could be? Are you being intentional with your time, right? If you're sitting on your phone looking at Facebook, scrolling through videos, and don't get me wrong, I'm not judging. I've been there. The point is, when your kids, your family members, who your friends, whoever it is that you're hanging out with, do you want to look back on your deathbed or something and say, would you say, man, I really wish I had spent more time on Facebook and YouTube and scrolling social media? Definitely not. I think we crave that. Those times with our significant others, with our family, with our friends, like true. At least me personally, but it can be so easy to take for granted because we don't look at it as we're going to die tomorrow. We look at it as, oh, this will just go on for another 100 years like this until we die. And at that point, it's like it's too late already. And once you've built in those habits and everything, it can be hard to break them. And so many kids these days are growing up with social media, with phones, with iPads or whatever, and they're just completely detached from society and reality, how it really works. There were even girls I dated years ago where, people don't like to talk on the phone anymore. They only text. If you call them, they will not answer. They won't call you back either. Which is fine. I kind of adapted and said, okay, that's how people are doing things. I got to roll with the punches. I got to do that too. But it's kind of sad how society is moving in that direction. But we can choose to be intentional. We can choose to be different. We don't have to do what everyone else is doing. And so I just encourage you to have presence with your loved ones and be intentional about that time that you're spending with them. Facebook and those kind of things, they can wait. In fact, they're not even important. I deleted my Facebook from my phone. I still have a Facebook, but I don't use it. YouTube is probably the biggest social media, but it's not necessarily social media, although it's kind of moving in that direction. I more watch videos just for learning and tarot readings or whatever, stuff like that. But even that, I should probably kick the habit on that and just not be on there at all, because yeah, I've been getting messages about that I need to just, I could probably listen to a quarter of what I was listening to. There's just endless content out there, and it's video after video, and it's just not important. The important stuff is happening like right now. One day my kids are going to be old. If, again, hopefully they don't die or anything, but one day, hopefully they're going to be old. They're going to go to college or something. They're going to leave the nest. And, my girls, they're going to be, probably marry some guy and move in with him and have their own family. And of course, hopefully I'll still be in touch with them, but it's not going to be at the capacity it is now. Right now, they're 4 and 5, my girls. My son is 1. They're not going to be that age again. Even recently I was just thinking about, like, even a couple years ago when they were littler, like toddlers, and they were so dependent, and it was difficult, and they would cry and they would fight and they would scream and stuff. But there was also really good times where it was really sweet. And even now they like to sit next to me, like to sit in my lap. They rest their head on my lap, on my body, and it's so sweet. And those times, I mean, they can always do that, but it's never going to be like this again. And so just a word of encouragement to just try to be more present with your loved ones, because you just never know when they can get taken away, when they'll be gone. And then you'll wish that you had done more. Don't learn the lesson the hard way, I guess. But with that, I guess I'll say goodbye. Thank you. See you later.